And I had to meet him. Like, I had to tell him how much he meant to me.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Trevor Hancock here, and today we have a very special guest. He's really funny. He's a filmmaker, just a super talented guy, and this is the first time I'm meeting him. Please welcome Shane Hartline. What's up, man?
Well, thanks for having me, man. I think this is like in today's society, the way everything's going, it's kind of the only way people can meet people.
Yeah, no, right?
Yeah.
And one of the stipulations I told Shane, if he had to come on the show, I told him he had to wear a fruit-covered shirt. Like that was one of the requirements.
Yeah. No, for real though, I've been on a kick lately of like these Hawaiian shirt kick, and I think it's like because it's making me feel like it's taking me out of the present situation, and we gotta have fun, man. We gotta find some way to have fun in this weird thing we're going through. Like,
yeah, and you've been doing a lot of cool things since you've been in quarantine. Like, you didn't just like a lot of people, you didn't take the time to relax. It seems like you've been working pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, I won't lie. There was a period, like anybody, I think that this was something that nobody had ever even prepared for mentally. Like, I mean, I think we prepared for like crazy things, like deaths and the worst things possible, but like this was nothing that literally anybody had ever mentally even thought possible. So I think that everybody has gone through, some people are still going through, understandably so, this period of not knowing how to mentally process this whole thing. And I definitely went through it for a bit, and I kind of forced myself to make things even more than I usually did. It helped me, but dude, there were some early on in the quarantine, there were some days that were mentally really tough. But I think like most people, I'm just speaking for myself though, that like I'm starting to find a groove in this quarantine thing where like I'm having more happy days mentally than funky days in my head, but yeah, man. And I think that for me, what works, and I know everybody's different, but what works for me is to just keep making something, always have something that I'm working on, whether it's TikTok videos or a short film or podcast or something. I'm trying to keep myself busy, that I don't ever have the downtime to like get too stuck in my head and trail off into negative, dark land, like.
Yeah. And I love your TikToks. You did one recently where you're like shouting at your neighbor. I think you posted that recently. That was really funny.
Thanks, man. That's fun. What's funny about that character is when Vine was a big thing, like years ago, I was really into Vine, and that was one of my like more popular Vine characters. And I've been going hard on TikTok lately. I think TikTok's such a great platform. One of the few platforms where the algorithm is actually for the user and actually benefits, the people and that make the content for it. But I kind of recently was like, oh my gosh, this character that I did years ago on Vine would fit perfectly in this quarantine world. This guy who's just like desperately seeking friendship from this other person. But it's one of my favorite characters, and glad you like it, man.
Yeah, man. And so you said you were pretty big on Vine. How do you like it compared to TikTok? Because TikTok, it's so strange. I used to like kind of scoff at it and be like, oh, that's the platform where all the cringy kids go and do Fortnite dances and stuff. But now it's like grown into some of the best, like most genuine like comedy videos I've seen in the past couple of years. Like some of the best internet videos I've seen have come from TikTok. So what do you think of that, man?
Yeah, the way I've always, it's weird, man. Like I go through like phases where, I kind of get sucked into public opinion of outlets and stuff, but I try to lean to the side of TikTok's just another place to put stuff, And to me, the way I'm really trying to think now is the more you put your stuff places, the more people see it. Like if you're so particular about your aesthetic or like where your content is, then like you might only get 100, 200 views, which there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, like, I make things because I want people to see them, and I want, you know, my content to lead to future opportunities. So the way I look at TikTok or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram is it's just another place for me to put my content. So it's turned into, like, it's crazy how quick people can grow a following on TikTok. And I've never seen a platform really quite like it ever. Like, my On Your Mark, you know, wrestling content that we make, our TikTok in like 3 or 4 weeks, we're about to hit 10,000 followers. And
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're really excited. But what's funny is, like, we've been on YouTube since 2014 and we haven't even broke 5,000 followers. So that says a lot about, like, the TikTok platform. And, you know, at first my partner and the On Your Mark, he was really frustrated about it. He's like, God dang it, man. We've been putting all these amazingly highly produced videos, and we put our heart and all this content on YouTube, and, you know, it gets a fun reaction, but, like, we have only seen certain numbers, but in like 3 weeks, we've gone way past what we ever did on YouTube. And at first he was frustrated, and I'm like, dude, this is great, because if this is finally the platform where these videos are connecting with people, if they genuinely like the content, they'll go and check out everything else we're, like, putting out there. So, dude, I think that, while, you know, some people look at it as that is just like cringy videos, while that's on there, that's on every platform. You can find that on every platform. And I think that TikTok has just become such a popular platform for many reasons. Like I said, it's one of the few that you can grow a quick following. Like, my mom has a TikTok, and it's so funny, and she's got hundreds of followers. Like, it's just a bizarre world we live in. We're, you know, like, 100, you got to really think about it, man. Like, 100 followers, like, doesn't sound like a lot. But if you put yourself in a theater in front of 100 people, that's a lot of people, you know? So I always try to tell people, like, when they get down on, like, their follower counts, I'm like, put yourself in a theater with that many people. Like, that's awesome. So I don't know. It's a wild world we live in where, like, especially in this quarantine, the stages are all digital now, man. Like, you and I are never going to meet in person. I only want our interactions to be digital, ever.
Oh, totally. I totally get that.
Good. It's just cleaner, man. It's just cleaner.
Yeah. Just kind of, you know, take out the middleman, you know?
Yeah.
Meeting in person.
Yeah.
But dude, like, you were talking about your Marc Extreme character, and
Marc E Extreme.
Oh, right.
Trevor.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's all right. It's cool.
And you're a huge wrestling fan, right? And that's kind of
I actually used to be a wrestler. So
really, that's awesome.
Yeah. I did independent wrestling from 2004 to 2000. Well, you never really quit, Trevor. So I still dabble in independent events here and there, but I was doing it full time for about 3 years, from when I was like 17 to like 20, you know? But I was a wrestling fan ever since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. So you've always been into entertaining people, it seems like. That seems like your favorite thing in the world. Is that true? Yeah,
man. To be, like, truthful, like, I picked up my first video camera when I was 9 or 10 or something like that. And I haven't stopped making content genuinely since then. Like, back when, like, the VHS camera was the thing, I used to just, like, take my camera, put it on my big TV, and film myself doing, like, goofy skits and stuff. And I used to get so much joy from just, like, showing my mom's friends that would come over, or my cousins that would come over, just the dumbest stuff that I was doing. And then I really never stopped doing that. And it just kind of has evolved with the stages that have been presented. Like, back then, our stages was our living room, you know what I mean? And, you know, it turned into all kinds of different things as the years progressed. And that's really, like, how I got into entertainment, is just, you know, putting my stuff out there. Like, YouTube, I jumped on it the first year it opened, and that being early on YouTube, when I was doing it back then, I was doing sketches really early. Like, led to so many crazy opportunities. And but yeah, man, I just get like, I get the most joy from making something and seeing people react to it, in any kind of way. And I think that's an artist period, is like, making something and to make people feel something. And that's, genuinely how, I've always, or that's where I've always got the most joy. And it really, like, I was inspired most, like, early on from Pee Wee Herman and like Nickelodeon and just like crazy, comedians and stuff like that. Like, I just wanted to be them. I wanted to be on Nickelodeon. I wanted to do all those things. And so, like, for me, the way to scratch that itch at that time, because I didn't know how to, like, get in entertainment back then, but the way to scratch that itch for me was like filming myself and creating my own TV shows and stuff. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's so rad. And I can tell, I see the Nickelodeon influences in your work.
Dude.
Like, I can tell that you enjoy being like a human cartoon character.
Yeah, man. I think as comedians, we get the most joy, from making people laugh. And like, every comedian has like the same kind of story. Like, comedy found them because it was their way to, protect themselves, because, deep down when we were kids, we were like super self-conscious about all these crazy things. Like, I was like a heavy kid, redhead, freckles with a speech condition. And, so comedy was a way for me to like make people not laugh at me, but laugh with me. And, once I found that out, that I was kind of like good at that, like, it's an addiction, man. Like, it's a drug when you get people laughing. And so yeah, like, comedy's always been like my comfort zone. And I've been able to do a lot of fun things because that was like kind of where I built my foundation in entertainment, I guess.
Do you remember the first time you made like a really big group of people laugh and you were just like, wow, like, I thought, like, you felt like you made it at that point?
My earliest memories of getting like a reaction from somebody is I used to do, and this is the first thing that comes to mind, but I used to do the Pee-wee, the dance in Pee-wee's Big Adventure where he's a the tequila dance. I would do that in front of my grandparents and my family I couldn't have been 3 or 4 years old, somewhere around there.
Mm.
And they would just die. Like, they would die laughing. And that's kind of my earliest memory of like, oh, being goofy makes people do this. And I like that. I like that feeling. You know what I mean?
Mm. Was there ever a time in your life where you didn't feel like being goofy was enough? Like, you felt like you needed to go through other avenues of comedy? Or do you feel like being goofy was always like your special way of making people laugh?
I think that's a good, deep question. Jeez. No, I think I think as actors and entertainers and artists, every day we're constantly questioning, like, what we're doing. Like, what, should we be trying something else? Should we be taking our talents and using them in a different avenue? So, I think we're constantly dealing with doubts and, things like that. But I always know it's funny when I'm in like an acting class or something, and I'm always like, nah, I don't know if I want to do a dramatic scene this month. Let's just do like a comedy scene, because like I know that like that's where my comfort zone is and I'll get a reaction out of people. So I think I always know that like my comfort zone is comedy type stuff. Now, I'm not sitting here saying like I'm a comedy god, but like I know that like that's where I'm comfortable. And that's always where like I think that's where I think I'll always like kind of fall back on, or always go back to. Robin Williams is still my biggest inspiration. And I want to really have a career like that, where like you start off in comedy, making people feel something, but he was so good at comedy that he was able to make people just break down into tears with his dramatic roles. And like, I think that the best comedians can do that. So that's really
Robin had such a warm performance with his dramatic roles that
mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody could watch that and be like, man, this guy sucks, or this guy, like, I don't feel anything. Like, he had such a way with connecting with people that I don't think has been matched since he left.
There's some, Tom Hanks is a little similar. I don't think he's on the same level, but like, to me, he got his start in comedy, and like he can do just the best, dramatic performances, but nobody will, I think, ever touch what Robin was able to do. I was actually fortunately able to meet him like a couple of months, before he passed. He was so crazy. So at the comedy theater I was a part of in Los Angeles, he just showed up one night and like did an improv show. Like, so at the theater that I was at, there was 3 stages. I was in the backstage theater, and I was just leaving my show, and my buddy texts me, and he's like, dude, Robin Williams just walked in, and he's now doing the main stage show. And I just walked around. There was maybe 15 people watching this show, and I was sat in the front row, watched Robin Williams do an improv show. I have video of it. I need to post it. Like, I posted it back then when he did it, and then his people, they asked me to take it down, and I don't know. I've always gone back and forth if I should post it now or not, but it's such an amazing improv performance. I don't see the big deal. Tangent, sorry. But it was such an amazing performance, and he was performing with complete strangers. And then when the show was done, I looked at my buddy sitting next to me. I was like, we got to meet him. Like, so we ran around to, and normally like with celebrities, like I've been fortunate enough to meet some really cool people, but like, I don't get starstruck. I don't go crazy. I don't do that. But I ran around, and I like was the first person he walked out and was like in face to face with. And I had to meet him. Like, I had to tell him how much he meant to me. And like, I was like, all I said was like, it's such an honor to meet you. Like, Fisher King is my favorite film. And I got a picture with him. It's a goddamn blurry picture, but my buddy will never let him live that one down. But no, I still got a picture with him. And like, I kind of collapsed, man. I was like, I met my hero, and it was actually a good interaction. That's always like a really tricky thing when people, when you meet your heroes, because it's always like, you never know like what you're gonna get. You could easily get let down. But it was such a cool moment. And yeah, weird, dude, crazy night.
That's incredible. That's honestly like one thing I feel like I failed in life, was being able to meet Robin, because his performances just meant so much to me when I was a kid. And it just felt like a crime that I never like tried to meet him. I don't know how I could have, but I was just like, man, I should have thought of a way or something.
Yeah,
like go to a show or something. But
yeah, I mean, it was one of my bucket lists to work with him. I'm so glad I got to meet him. But like, what even is crazier is, so that video that I posted, when I posted it, it started getting lots of hits really quick. And then the owner of the theater messaged me, and she said, Shane, I'm so grateful that you posted this video, but his people have requested that, you take it down. And I was like, of course, no worries. And she said, thank you for being understanding. As soon as we know he's coming back to the theater, we'll make sure that you get on stage and get to perform with him. And that didn't end up happening, unfortunately.
Oh man.
But yeah, he's the GOAT, man. He's the greatest.
Dude, that's incredible. And to go back to the shows that you're doing now, like, what would you say like has been out of all your works, what do you think like has like the most like Robin inspiration to it?
Oh man. As far as my personal productions or like TV shows I've done?
Anything, man.
I got to play a pretty fun character on this Disney show, Stuck in the Middle, where I played this like crazy radio DJ and morning DJ. So they let me really go. I mean, it's Disney, so like they let me go real big. I did a casting workshop one time in Los Angeles with a Disney casting director, And she said, for Disney and Nickelodeon auditions, you should either come in right before you come in and chug a Red Bull, or act like you just chugged a Red Bull and then do your audition. So that's Disney acting. No, but like they let me go really big. Like, so when my character was like on the air, I was like, really zany radio guy. And then like when I got off, I was just like kind of straight. So it was this like, crazy all over the place character. And man, that was really a fun character that I got to play for that episode.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun. So I don't know, man, like with comedy, it's like I've gotten to, a lot of my own personal sketches. I played crazy characters. Like my Marky Extreme character is really ridiculous. And I have so much fun playing. But yeah, I mean, a lot of characters, like, I think the thing with Robin is he was just fearless. And yeah, so I just like to really lean into that with my characters, the comedy characters specifically.
Right. And you do zany really well. I mean, the title of this stream is Silly Boy Shane Hartline.
Silly boy.
And but yeah, man, with the whole Marc character, do you and I've seen you doing a whole campaign where you're trying to get The Rock's attention. How's that going?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. That's like happening right now. So it's been about a year. We put up a pilot, for this backyard wrestling entertainment. Yarders, it's called Yarders, this comedy pilot about my character and his backyard wrestling company. And we put out this pilot a year ago, and then a couple days ago, it was just announced that The Rock is doing a backyard wrestling pilot. And like, that's just sometimes how this business works is, I had, some people reach out to me and they're like, are you upset? Are you pissed? And at first I was like a little like disappointed, like all the work that I put into this pilot, and backyard wrestling is so specific that I don't know that the entertainment business will ever want another backyard wrestling pilot after he does his, because it would just be kind of imitating. It's not like it's a pilot about baseball, it's such a specific concept. But at first I was a little disappointed, and then I started thinking like it could end up being the best thing that's ever happened to me, in a sense that if they somehow see this fully fleshed character that I've been working on for years, that has a whole world, and that I am an actor, a trained professional wrestler, a comedian, to me, like that's like a character. If I was them, I'm just saying, if I was them, I would just put in the show, like they're in the process of writing it right now. Like that's a slam dunk in my opinion. I don't know. So I kind of just I'm hoping that it was able to get a lot of retweets and a lot of attention. And I'm hoping that The Rock or someone on his team saw my character, and I'm having my representation like push it. And so, man, fingers crossed that I, get an opportunity to at least audition, that would be super cool. But what's cool is like I said, it might end up being like the best thing that ever happened to me, because I could get on that show, and maybe in an alternate universe, say that show never happened, my show Yarders could have never gotten picked up. So it's like it could end up being like a super positive thing. And I'm trying to look at it glass half full. That's the part of me that's trying to look at it that way. So instead of just being like so pissed that I can't say that it was stolen, because like I said, it's like somebody doing a show about baseball. It's like it's just about the same thing, but it's completely different, so.
Can you describe to everyone what Marc's character is? Because it's so over the top and just like wrestling, but you take it to like kind of a different approach. Because like every wrestler has their own like type of character, their own type of quirks. So like,
sure.
what is Marc's?
Marc is a self-obsessed egomaniac, but also the biggest wrestling fan in the universe. Most people know those wrestling fans as Marcs, so he's Marky Extreme, and he's created this world that just glorifies him, and he has his own company, Backyard Wrestling Entertainment, that he's only ever been the champion. He's undefeated because he books his own shows, and he's only ever been the champion. But the character was started because we have this YouTube channel where we interview real wrestlers that are very successful. And it's a very like Between Two Ferns, Eric Andre show inspired interview show,
Yes.
where I ask them very stupid, very uncomfortable, very awkward questions as my character. And all I tell these guys beforehand, because I'm not going into the set, as this character. I go in as me, and I tell them beforehand, like, I'm going to ask you dumb questions. The joke's always on me. Just react how you want to. And a lot of wrestlers, some guys do their research and they know what they're getting into with me, like, or the character, but a lot of them don't. And you always can tell when you watch them which of the guys did their research and which didn't, because they break a lot because they just don't know what's happening. And over the years, it's evolved. Like, the character's definitely evolved a bit. And God, man, I have so much fun with it. I have so much fun making either them uncomfortable or laugh, or I just like to give the wrestlers an experience that is not like the typical cookie cutter interview. And 9 times out of 10, I mean, I can't even think of an experience as it was a bad experience, but every wrestler, when it's finished, has been like, gosh, that's really fun, man. Even up to like Ted DiBiase, a guy that's done hundreds and thousands of interviews. Afterwards, he just was dying laughing. He's like, man, that was really fun. Thanks, man. Like,
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's been surreal for me because I wrestle. I've been able to do more in wrestling as this goofball character than I ever did when I was really trying, So like, I've been, we've had the opportunity to work with Impact Wrestling, and I've interviewed some of the biggest names in wrestling and as the character. And it's just funny how that happens when you're actually trying versus like when you do something. It's not that I'm not trying as this character, but like definitely not trying like I was, And I'm not after like a contract or anything, but it's just funny that I've been able to do more in wrestling than I ever thought I would ever do.
Dude, what's the most uncomfortable interview you've done so far?
It's hard to make me uncomfortable. Let me think, because I know there's been some situations.
Or I guess I meant uncomfortable, like on their part, where it was just like
where they were uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, I know. I guess that was. I mean, that's part of the joke. But did you? No, wait. Let me rephrase it.
Sure.
What's an interview that you like made them break like super easily? Because you said that you made them break a couple times.
A lot of the wrestlers have. I'm trying to think of who comes to mind that I made break pretty quickly. Oh my gosh, I'm having trouble remembering this. This is a good opportunity for people to go to the channel and look at every video we've posted. I don't know. I can't think of one specifically. I do know that we have made a lot of people. Matt Morgan is somebody I'm thinking of. That was a really fun interview that he was breaking quite a bit. I should know the answer to this, but I'm drawing a blank. I can't think of anybody.
Dude, that's rad. But also, like, you're also a filmmaker, and I watched your film that you made in quarantine, like during the first couple weeks. And
yeah.
Can you tell everybody about that? Because it was so well done, and also,
oh man,
like, with such little you had to work with, like you made the most out of it.
Thank you, dude. Thanks. Yeah, I got this new video camera recently, and that was like the first thing that I shot on it. And I don't know, man. Like, I always have really thrived with when somebody's like, hey, I have access to this like unique location. Let's shoot something. So I always, I think get more inspiration when I have like a limited thing, or I don't know if that's the right word, but like with the quarantine, it's like, okay, we're stuck in the apartment. And so let's make a short about that, so we've done 2 now. And yeah, man, it was really fun. Like, and I think that like, this is such a unique situation in that everyone's going through it, so if you write a story about a quarantine situation or something like that, everybody can relate to it. It kind of speaks to everybody on different levels, and it's hard I don't know of a time in our lifetime that everybody around the world pretty much is going through the same thing at the same time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's such a unique situation. And as a filmmaker, like it should be something everybody is just taking advantage of right now. You know, like the downtime, everybody has a set around them. You know, I know the apartment setting has been used constantly in shorts and films, but like to me, like that shouldn't limit us or that shouldn't stop people from shooting something.
Mm-hmm. What kind of camera did you get, by the way?
I got a Blackmagic Pocket 6K.
Dude, nice. I've been eyeballing that
Yeah,
actually.
it is so sick. I don't know when I'm ever going to use 6K. I still only use 4K on it, but like, yeah, it's crazy to think that, and the Blackmagics are pretty affordable for a 6K camera, you know, and it's crazy to think that that's where we're headed, that like affordable 6K cameras exist, you know?
Oh yeah. And you know about Isaac and the Thunderdome, I'm guessing, since you're friends with
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Matt
yeah,
Dickstein.
yeah.
Yeah, I had him on the show and we talked about like we're in a really weird time where because when filmmaking was first started, like only millionaires could do it. And now we're at a point where like, you know, I can pull out my phone
Yep,
and just make a film. And that's
literally.
kind of like his philosophy with the Thunderdome. So what would your advice be to people that like want to get into filmmaking or even like comedy, like TikTok or something, that are afraid like they'll look too amateurish or they'll look like unprofessional? What would you say to those people?
I think the hardest thing you got to get past is what you were just talking about, is thinking too much, like worrying too much about what other people think about you. Because that is the hardest. And it's just something we all deal with. And it's because of all the years of, you know, bullying or, you know, whatever everybody has gone through. We put all these layers of bullcrap on us, you know, of just social anxiety and what people think of us. So we've like got to get past worrying about that, or worrying too much about putting out this artificial image of ourselves. You know, so many people, it kills me. You can go to Instagram and look at certain profiles and you can usually tell which people are like, that's not really you. You're putting out a fake image. And then you can tell the people like, I think this is really who they are, you know? And what I try to do, man, like, is I really try to put out me, you know? If, you know, there's like, it's funny, my girlfriend's getting like really big into TikTok, and there's a lot of times where like, she'll come at me and want to do like a TikTok video or challenge that everybody else is doing. And I'm like, most of the time it's like, I'm like, I don't want to do it because that's not me, you know, like, but I'll put a fun spin on it that is me, you know? But to go back to answer your question, like I said, I think that it's the hardest part is getting past giving a crap about what people think about you, because you really have to, and you really got to find what you enjoy making the most, and don't obsess too hard about how good your first things are, you know, like how good your first short is, how good your first videos are. Man, my first videos are cringy. Like,
Mine
you
are
know,
too.
oh God, like, but like you got to learn, man. You got to put things out there. You've got to like have that first video. You've got to have that first TikTok, whatever it is now, you know, and go into knowing this, that like you're going to put things out there, you're going to get all kinds of different reactions, but really just try to focus on the positives, because it's really easy to dismiss all these like kind people that are giving you positive feedback because how loud those few negative comments are, you know? So it's a practice, man. It's just a practice, because our human nature is to protect ourselves. And it's really, it's a weird thing to just put yourself out there like that, you know?
Yeah. Did you have you always been as confident as you are, or did you kind of grow into that?
Dude, I still deal with like confidence issues. Like
Really?
I'm just comfortable with you right now. No, like it honestly depends on the setting. Like, as actors, auditions can be really awkward, nerve-wracking situation. But like to me, it's all about energy. Like you're putting off a really good energy. If I walk into an audition room and I feel a good energy, if the casting director's putting off a good energy, that affects me. All I have control over is what I put out, so I'm constantly trying to put out a good energy. I don't try to be I don't try to be this fake confident person. I just try to put out whatever I'm feeling at that moment. And sometimes I'm not feeling good. Sometimes I'm feeling quiet, or sometimes I don't want to talk. Sometimes I don't want to perform. But like, if I'm feeling good, like, if I just got off of like, if I just put out a video that's really like connecting with people, or if I just got off of a stage, um, and the performance was good, or it's like a drug, man. Like it's an endorphin rush. It makes you feel good. And I really believe that like everything is energy, man. Like you put off a good energy in this interview, so like I'm feeling good, and like we're having a good interaction right now, But I definitely don't ever like feel like I'm the most confident kid in the room. I just kind of try to be whatever I'm feeling in that moment.
Yeah, and I totally relate to that. Like a huge part of why I started this show is so I could boost my confidence a little more
I
and get
love
better at
that.
talking to people. Like I've from like episode 1, like my first episode was with Matt Dickstein, and I think it was good, but it was a great start
Hey, that
because I was
Matt
like,
Dickstein, hell of a guy.
hell of
Hell
a
of a
guy, man.
guy.
I love him. Let's talk about him for the rest of the interview.
I would love to. That Matt needs. I'm going to give a couple minutes to Matt. Matt Dickstein, he needs a little more spotlight shine on him.
I agree.
Talented as heck filmmaker, director of a movie that might be coming out soon that I helped produce.
Ooh.
Um, Hell of a father, kid, cute as heck. Is making the perfect family. Matt Dickstein might be like the perfect man right now in this world. And everybody go follow him, go watch his shorts. I can't give enough. And just one of the nicest dudes.
I agree.
Genuinely.
He's
Every
so great.
time, and I'm not bullcrapping, every time I'm around him, like I just like it's like I'm at ease and I feel like so comfortable, and like such good conversation with him. Genuinely.
Oh yeah, and I've helped him on a short film of his a couple months ago, and I have never seen anyone direct like him. Like it was so chill.
Mm-hmm.
He knew
Yep.
exactly what he wanted, and we just like kept moving forward, and it was all because of him. Like he was like in director mode, and anything that went wrong, and hardly anything did, he just like brushed it off and moved
Yep.
on. It was so cool,
So
really inspiring.
so chill. So
Mhm.
chill. But yeah, we could keep talking about Matt if you want to.
No, I love him.
Me
But
too, man.
but yeah, man, like starting this show, um like I'm being very vulnerable right now. Like I've struggled with like confidence issues like pretty much my whole life, I think. And it's been so tough to like put myself out there a little more. Like
Mm.
I made my very first short film that wasn't, something that was surreal. It was something that I dealt with internally. So I made this. Or are you a Bo Burnham fan by chance?
Not the biggest, but like I don't not like him.
I got you.
Yeah.
So he had this thing at the end of his last comedy special, Make Happy, and it was basically talking about how, you know, what being famous is like, what doing comedy is like. Like he really got to like the core of like why he did it, and I really resonated with it. And like one of the main things he says is like, um, if you're doing this for if you want to be famous, just don't.
Mm.
And he does it in such a beautiful way. It made me like tear up. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't think I've ever done that after a comedy special.
sure.
So I took the song that he did, that somebody did like a piano cover of it, and I like slowed it down. And so ever since like high school, I was in like these comedy productions, and I was always cast as like the goofball or the idiot. And there were sometimes people would genuinely like treat me like that. Like people were like treating me like I was dumb, or I remember I would go to parties sometimes, and like even in college, and if like I wasn't like on my A game with like being funny, it felt like
Mm-hmm.
nobody wanted anything to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've gotten older, the people that I value are the people that, enjoy Trevor the way I am like right now, or even if I am being like stupid and funny or whatever. So that's kind of what like I made this short about. And I think art is such a incredible way to express yourself, and film especially. And it was just a great film, and I'm still very proud of it. It's called Comedian, and I don't consider myself a comedian, but I like played a character like that was a comedian. He like kills it at his sets, and he goes home, and he just like doesn't want to be funny. He doesn't want to do anything. And then I have like this girl, Haley. She like played my girlfriend in the short, and she comes up, and the lights go off, and when they come back on, I have a clown nose, and she like takes it off and throws it like symbolism. And
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, that's sorry to go off on a huge tangent like
No, it's all
that.
good.
Yeah,
I want to see it. Please send it to me.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely will. So what's for you, like what's been the difference between, writing something that, comes from your heart? And I know you've made a film about was it called Cookie? Is that what it's
Cookie.
called? Yeah, and that was something that you've dealt with personally. Like, can you tell people about that?
Yeah, Cookie was and has been the most vulnerable experience of my life and the most vulnerable piece that I will put out.
Mhm.
So since I was like 5 or 6, um, I dealt with a very mild case of a neurological condition. It's called spasmodic dysphonia, and basically, it's hard to really define because there's multiple types. Fortunately for me, I deal with a very mild case. It's gotten to be a very mild case throughout my life, but basically, all it is it's a misfire with the signals from your brain to your vocal cords. And at some point in people's lives, something happens, whether it's a traumatic incident or something as simple as somebody got a cold and then they get it. But there's a misfire that happens and then you get it. And then basically what happens, there's 2 types of spasmodic dysphonia. One type basically constricts your vocal cords out of your control. And then there's another type that pulls them apart out of your control. So for some people, and then there's one type that's a mix where I think I have a mix of it. But for the people that it constricts, basically they have this like they talk like they're choked 24 hours a day, which is heartbreaking. Then there's the other type where it's the vocal cords are being pulled apart out of the person's control and their voices sound very breathy, both very heartbreaking for any case, but even more heartbreaking for the people that have severe cases. It was always something that I was very private about, because I dealt with a lot of stuff when I was a kid of people making fun of me. And that's what I was talking about, how I found comedy, because it was something I was so self-confident or dealt with a lot of self-confidence issues about it. I still do mildly. It's getting a lot better, but it was something I never wanted to tell people about because as far as acting and entertainment, I was always so worried that if someone in entertainment found out about it, I would lose opportunity, So I spent all these years of my life hating it about myself. But I also told myself at the same time, when I get to the certain platform that I think that I know I want to get to in this business, I'm going to use that exposure to be the voice for these people, to help these people, to give back to these people, this very small audience of people in this country and world that suffer. And then a year ago, I'll never get the moment, I was listening to the Duplass brothers audiobook, and I was just inspired it was like a flip of a switch. I was like, I need to make a story about my story, somebody with that got this condition very young, which is, it's very rare for people to get it as young as I did. But on top of that, the only passion they ever have had is to be an actor and somebody that uses this as their tool. So I was like, I'm going to write that story. I don't want to be in it. I want to tell my story through the voice of another person. So a year ago, almost to the day, I made the announcement that I want to do a fundraiser and that I want to raise money to make this short, as best as it possibly can be made. And I don't know if you've ever done a fundraiser, but they're insanely intimidating. And, it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But if you do it the right way, and very strategically and build a good foundation, it can be very rewarding. And, I brought on an amazing line producer, shout out Elizabeth Mihelik, and she helped me break down a budget for exactly how to do this the right way. The low end for, let's say low end, cheap version of the short, and then the high end expensive Mac Daddy version of the short. And right in that middle ground was what we shot for, was 40,000, on the Kickstarter, which is insane. And I was like,
a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. We ended up raising $51,000. And I shot this with a full crew, production trucks, paid everybody, post-production was covered, and sound was done at the name of the crazy, everything was done exactly like a dream, and still have money in the account, for festivals and all kinds of stuff. So it was done so well and so beautifully. And I had never been more proud of anything I have made. And we've done some test screenings in Los Angeles, and then we did one test screening in Atlanta. And we were fortunate to have people with the condition to come and see the film, because this is their film. This is our film. I'm a part of those group of people. And that was a really nerve-wracking experience. It's like, one, because we casted somebody that didn't have the condition, and that was a very hard thing to do because we did try to find somebody with the condition, but there's only roughly 50,000 people in the United States with the condition. To find an actress that was strong enough to play that part with a severe case of the condition was like finding a needle in the haystack with the amount of time that we had. So, one day I hope that we can make a feature, and then I'm sure we can have a better search, process for that person, because I'm no doubt that person is out there. But we were able to cast an amazing actress that took the role seriously, and I wasn't going to have it any other way. Like, whoever we were reaching out to had to work with a speech therapist, talk with people with the condition, really respect it, because I think that if you're going to cast somebody with, I don't want to call this a disability, but like along those lines of a disability, then that person has to really put the work into to honor it and honor the people they're representing. And this is the first film that showcases this condition, is going to tell the story of somebody with this condition. And we showed people with the condition, and the feedback was amazing. Like, everybody gave me their graces, and the National Spasmodic Dysphonia Association people have backed the film, and they flew into the test screening in Atlanta and gave me like a plaque. It was like just surreal. So that's kind of off to festivals. So waiting to hear back on festivals. But yeah, man, I've never made something that is such as vulnerable, because it is my story, told through the voice of another character. But I've never made something that I'm more proud of, and I can't wait for people to be able to see it. Probably the end of 2020, if the way everything is going. So,
dude, that's incredible. Like, I've never heard of a story like that. I didn't even know that condition really existed.
Exactly. That's why we're making this,
Yeah, and that's beautiful, man. Like, that's, you can make a you can make a PSA, you can do charities and stuff, but I think a film is such a powerful way to do it because
I think it
one, like,
connects with people more.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, with your condition, you and your voice going through it, I find that really fascinating. Like props to you, Shane. Like
Thanks, man.
that's really beautiful. And my next question is, um, you know, like what made you want to write it from the perspective of a girl rather than like, you know, since you're, you know, a dude, and what made you what brought about that decision?
I don't know. There were a few things. I think that there are statistically more females with the condition.
Hmm.
Um, I also, it was just a gut feeling, to be honest. I've had people ask me this before, and I don't really have a strong answer. It was just a gut feeling that I wanted to tell it through the voice of a female character. Um, I wish I had a more prophetic answer, or
No, it's fine, dude.
just it was a gut feeling, you know.
That's great, dude. But to
Also,
go
her
back
name.
to
Also, her name is Gabby, and gabbing is about speaking. So I feel like that kind of like fit.
no, clever.
That was a little bit also of the decision. So.
That's cool. Is there any comedy in the film, or is it like
Oh
mostly?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a very heart-wrenching film, but like it's funny. There's moments of levity that there's one moment in particular. It's so funny that comes particularly after like a particularly like heavy moment in the short, and every test audience we've shown it to just explodes in laughter because I think they were just ripped, at this moment that they were like, finally we can like, like
Yeah.
it's so funny how it's hit like that every time. And it's such a learning experience for writing, and that like you have a heavy moment, like throw up like a little funny moment at the tail end of it. It'll hit really hard usually.
Dude, that's so cool. And I think that's a good segue to talk more about like, because you do a lot of comedy sketches, with your Marc character, but you've also done like, I saw the last like sketch that I remember you did it with your girlfriend. It was like somebody breaks into the house and you get like this like funny looking knife. It's got like flowers on it. And it just, like laughs at you.
Yeah, TikTok actually took that one down, but like I think
Really?
it's still, yeah, TikTok it's always like a flip of a coin. Like sometimes your videos will get removed and you can appeal it, but like sometimes they remove them for the dumbest reasons. And I like, it was a real knife, but I kind of appealed it and was like, it's a prop knife. How do you know? Like
Yeah.
That's the only reason that I feel like it got flagged on TikTok. But yeah, that was a fun one. And it's just, I literally got the idea from like, I found this knife and I was like, this is the sissiest knife I've ever seen. And if somebody was breaking into my house and I had to defend myself with this, they would laugh at me and leave. Like they would just leave. No, that was a fun one. I love quick sketches like that I can shoot super quickly.
Yeah, that's honestly one of my favorite forms of like making anything. I used to make sketches. Shout out to my buddy Heath Dills. We used to make like these really stupid. Heath is awesome. He's like the funniest human being I've ever met. We used to do these sketches back in my hometown, and my favorite ongoing bit, we made them like all like connect, like all the sketches me and him did. My favorite thing was his character was obsessed with the movie Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers, and every other year we did like Christmas specials, and his character would like ask me for the Cat in the Hat, and then I wouldn't give it to him. At one year I gave him like Fat Albert, and he just gets mad. And I'm like, dude, you have 600 copies of the Cat in the Hat. You don't need it anymore. And then the next Christmas, we did another Christmas special. And for that one, that was the one I gave him Fat Albert. And he gets mad at me and he's like, this would have been my 1 millionth copy of the Cat in the Hat and you ruined it. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry.
Did you guys have to buy a couple copies for videos?
No, basically we went to Staples. we printed off all the Cat in the Hat DVD covers.
Oh, could you imagine that person at Staples? They're like, Are these people like running like an underground pirated Cat in the Hat? Like I can't imagine what they were thinking.
It was so funny that they were like I just remember getting so many funny looks. They're like, we're not really supposed to do this. This is like a copyrighted thing. And I was like,
That's funny.
and they're like, we're gonna do it anyway. And I was like, yes. And so
Nice.
they printed off like I think I ordered like 60 copies. I mean, I'm not gonna order a million. So I ordered like 60 copies, and we like took all our DVDs that we had, all our Blu-rays, and we just like stuffed up, like we cut them out.
Funny.
It took forever, but it was such a funny bit. Like I want to keep it going, but Heath lives in a different state than I do, and I need to keep it going in some sort of way. Maybe you can help me.
That's so funny, man.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the best memories that I have are just like some of the dumbest sketches that we didn't like shoot to try to get hits, and it was just before I was like trying to keep like before I was in this industry as deep as I am now. Like those are some of the best memories I have, when we're just shooting a stupid idea, you know what I mean? And I kind of miss that sometimes. Like, I'm not saying that I don't have fun with the goofy things I shoot. It's just different now. It's like I'm doing them because I'm putting them out there to keep, my name up in this industry and to lead to opportunities, hopefully. So there's always a different intention behind them now. And like, I just miss I just want to shoot this just to shoot it. Like, cause I don't even remember a time that I haven't done that, since I was just starting on YouTube or even before YouTube. Like it's, think back, man, we used to shoot things just to shoot them with no outlet, Yeah. That was a good time.
I miss those times. My first film I ever made was, and I've talked about it on the show before, it was called Chicken Wars. And it was a Star Wars parody, but with chicken puns. And it was the worst thing ever. Like, I will not watch it. I was like 12 years old, and I'm just like, this is the cringiest thing ever made. Like, instead of Han Solo, it was Egg Solo. Like, just not clever at all.
I used to make like a lot of kids at my age back then, I used to make Jackass tapes. And it's like, we were like hurting ourselves just to shoot it, to show ourselves. Like and like I would get lucky occasionally, and my teachers in my middle school would let us show them in the class. And like, so like, it's just funny to think back on then those times where like there were no cell phones to share videos or watch videos. It was like just literally like passing a tape around, and that was it. Like such an innocent time.
I remember when I first got my first flip phone that had video capabilities, I would do these really terrible, I think you can only film for like 30 seconds on this thing. And I just remember I would like pull out my toys or like get my friends, and we would like do these sketches, and I can only have like 5 of those videos on my phone. So I was just like, well, I guess we're going to make 5 a week or something like that. And I would show it to like as many people as I could on my tiny flip phone. That was like my earliest memory with film.
That's cool.
Is there a bit that you've written and that you've done that you were just like, I can't believe we're filming this right now? And it was just like, you guys just couldn't stop laughing on set.
Man, I've had a lot of fun shooting stuff. But if I had to there was one, I mean, we used to do a lot of like, when I was in my like Jackass tape days, we did a lot of like public pranks and stunts. And man, there was this one time a buddy of mine dressed up like Superman, and we all went to a gas station, and this just happened naturally. Like, we had the camera, but we weren't shooting at the time. And he walked out of the car, and he had smoked a cigarette. And there was this guy who got furious because my friend was an idiot, and he was smoking a cigarette at a gas station. And we pulled the cameras out and we started filming it. And my buddy went into character, and he's like, it's okay, I'm Superman. If we explode, I'll deflect the explosion. And he was in character arguing with this guy. It was valid argument about like, don't smoke at a gas station. And we all lost it at like just
gosh.
some of the best memories of just like dying laughing. Like we did crazy stuff back then. Like we would tape like my buddy, we would take a ladder, bless you. We'd put a ladder up against this electrical pole and my buddy would climb to the top of it and like lean against it. And we duct tape him to the electrical pole, like 10 feet in the air, and take the ladder away. And he would just be stuck up there. And we would just like throw stuff at him and like just die laughing at the thought, like we could walk away right now and he would just stay there. Just like I think just like the hardest I'd laugh, and I'm probably forgetting like, you know, some sketch memories of like just crazy laughing moments, but like some of those early like Jackass tapes are just some of the just happiest and like giggly and silly moments I have memories of.
Dude, that's so rad. Well, Shane, we're at the end of the show.
Oh no, let's do it again.
Dude, please come on again. I know you have a million more stories that you could tell, but
let's do it.
Please tell everyone where we can find all your stuff. Like start plugging everything in, man.
Yeah, so I mean, for me personally, Shane Hartline, my website, shanehartline.com, has links to pretty much everything I do. If you're a wrestling fan or if you're not a wrestling fan, please check out my On Your Mark stuff. It's onyourmarkshow.com will take you to everything. We just started a podcast for the On Your Mark stuff, which is actually really fun. But if you're not a wrestling fan, I think you'll actually get a kick out of it too. But onyourmarkshow.com and shanehartline.com. Those are two easy spots. And then I'm just Shane Hartline on social media, so you can search me and find me.
Heck yeah. Well, Shane, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you everybody for watching. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Shane, you're the man. I can't wait to have you on again.
Anytime, dude. Thanks for having me.
Cool. All right. See you later, and bye, everybody.
See you, man.
No, basically we went to Staples.